Good afternoon. I would firstly thank the organizers for having associated France to this important event. As it has been said, I am a representative of the dark side, I mean the auditors sphere, tax auditor sphere. That's the reason why my presentation will be mainly descriptive and pragmatic, and perhaps somehow practical. I'd like also to apologize for using a prompter just as a candidate for election, but the reason is that my English is far to be excellent, and my Portuguese is worst. So, the border between the fair management and the aggressive tax plannings is often narrow. As a director of an organization dealing with tax auditing, I acknowledge to have sometimes some difficulty to reproach a French company for creating a subsidiary in a foreign state in order to transfer the activities of which the profits will be more slightly taxed under the terms of the local legislation than in France. In the same way, how do I have to react when I see a foreign company restructuring its sales network in France, which makes its distributors become independent and makes itself no more liable to corporation tax in France? The answer is not suddenly anymore so clear. And we understand intuitively that behind all these cases appears an avoidance scheme. That is to say, something which is not natural, a kind of construction which contains a certain degree of artifice. However, what is artificial mistrust causes. Playing with the rules is playing with fire. Where, therefore, can we trace the border between the innocent player and the perverse player? Actually, the simplest process consists in identifying one or more reprehensible behaviors with a definition and a determination of the sanction to be applied to the contravenor. This enumerative technique takes the form of a clear legal regulation and specifies the legal provision. However, this form of fight against tax avoidance is regarded more and more as insufficient by the French tax authorities and legislators. For a few years, the recourse to the legal provision has been complemented by generic principles such as the need for fighting against the abuse of law or for correcting the abnormal management acts. This process is still running, taking into account the development of new modes of regulations for the economic systems. Now, I will approach all these aspects successively and try to make them as clear as possible. I'm not only French, but also left-hander. It works. Okay. So, thank you. The legal provisions. The French legal framework is full of provisions which purpose is to correct directly few unacceptable situations. Okay, excellent. So I will not give you a complete list of these kinds of provisions, which for a large part are relevant to the domestic area, and just let you know some of the arrangements which refer to the correction of abuses in the international area. On the international side, the French fiscal framework has several rules aiming at neutralize the schemes which deprive France from its rights to tax. The most traditional provisions target the relations between the French companies and their business partners, or their subsidiary companies and branches located abroad. Others apply more especially to the people holding or transferring their assets abroad. A few words first about Article 57. Of the French tax code, which is dedicated to transfer pricing. This article is compatible with the terms of bilateral agreements inspired from Article 9 of Model Convention OECD. It makes possible to tax the transfers of profit awarded by a French company to a foreign one when these companies are linked by dependence connections, wherever the foreign company is established. I will not insist on this article because it relates to a much known subject, but simply I will specify a recent addition inserted in the French law, which introduced a kind of obligation on cooperation between the company and the authorities as regards documentation on transfer pricing. This obligation arises implicitly from the guiding principles of the chapter 5 of the OECD guidelines. The procedure is neither compulsory nor systematic, except for companies located in country in the non-comparative state or territory list. It's only when the authorities have to face an absence of sufficient explanations provided by the audited company that the recourse to the procedure will be considered. The authorities must have collected elements supposing that a company operated a transfer of profit within the meaning of Article 57, without having necessarily quantified them. The main object of the request will be the method of pricing determination, and it can relate only to 4 fields. First, the kind of links between the checked company and one or more foreign companies, legal or factual dependence between the various entities. Second, the price determination method for transactions of any nature between these companies. Third, some details about the subsidiary, the effective nature of the activity, its methods for performance, the risks assumed, and the means implemented. Fourth, tax assessed abroad for the transactions carried out with foreign entities with which the audited company has directly or indirectly more than 50% of the capital or of the rights to vote.